إِلَّا تَنْفِرُوا, if you do not go forth, يُعَذِّبُكُمْ عَذَابًا أَلِيمًا, He will punish you with a painful punishment. Illa. Illa is a combination of in and la. And this is an extreme warning, a severe warning, that if you do not go forth, if you do not go forth with the Prophet ﷺ for jihad when he calls you, then what's going to happen? يُعَذِّبُكُمْ عَذَابًا أَلِيمًا, Allah will punish you with a painful punishment. A punishment that is going to give you pain, that is going to bring you discomfort and pain. وَيَسْتَبْدِلْ, and He will exchange قَوْمًا, a people, غَيْرَكُمْ, other than you. يَسْتَبْدِلْ from the root letters ba, dal, lam, badal. He will bring about in your place, He will substitute you with the people that are غَيْرَكُمْ, that are other than you. If you don't want to serve the deen, if you think it's inconvenient for you, if you think you don't have the time and you're too busy with your world, you think the deen depends on you, you think the religion of Allah depends on you, it does not. Allah can replace you with another people. Allah can replace you with another people. وَلَا تَضُرُّوهُ شَيْئًا, and you will not harm Him at all. You will not be able to harm Allah. How? How? By abandoning the Prophet ﷺ. By abandoning the religion. Instead, who will you be harming? Yourself. وَاللَّهُ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدِيرٍ, and Allah is able over everything. So we see that there are different scenarios in which the deen is to be served, in which the deen is to be supported. One scenario is when there are many people to work. The work is easy. It does not require too much effort. And there are many people who can do the work. If one is unable to go forth, the other person can make up for him. You understand? Many people are there. If I cannot show up, somebody else can show up and do the work. Okay? The absence of one person is not a big deal. This is when it's fard kifaya. But there is another situation where it is fard ain, where the work is important and the resources are limited. The people are also limited. And in this situation, the presence of every individual is important. And in this situation, nobody can come and say, I am busy with something else. I'm sorry, I cannot come. I'm sorry, I cannot do anything for you. I am too busy. You cannot do that. And this is exactly what is being mentioned in this ayah. That if you do not go forth when it is an obligation on you, when the work is extremely important, and there are few people, and the work is so challenging, and you say you are busy with your own life, you cannot do that. If you do that, remember Allah will punish you. يُعَذِّبُكُمْ عَذَابًا أَلِيمًا. Allah will punish you, and He will replace you with some other people. If you don't come forth, Allah will bring someone else. And when He will bring someone else, you cannot harm Allah, you cannot harm the deen, you cannot blame Allah, you can only blame yourself. And remember, this is not difficult for Him. He can replace you with another people very easily. So what do we learn from this ayah? That when the work of the deen is so important that every individual is needed, every single person is needed, then nobody can come and make excuses and try to remain behind. If anyone does that, then he should remember that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be upset with him. This brings about the anger of Allah, and this brings about the punishment of Allah. Because Allah says over here, يُعَذِّبُكُمْ عَذَابًا أَلِيمًا. Who is being addressed? Ya ayyuhal ladina amanu. It's not the hypocrites who are being addressed over here. Ya ayyuhal ladina amanu. This will bring about the anger of Allah, the punishment of Allah. And sooner or later, Allah will replace this person with another who will do the work much better than him. As we learn in Surah Muhammad, ayah 38, وَإِن تَتَوَلَّوْا يَسْتَبْدِلْ قَوْمًا غَيْرَكُمْ ثُمَّ لَا يَكُونُوا أَمْثَالَكُمْ. And if you turn away, then what will happen? He will exchange you for some other people. He will do away with you, and He will bring about other people in your place, and they will be not like you. They will be not like you. They will be much better than you. Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu, he said that Allah's Messenger, he called some Arabs to mobilize, to go forth for this expedition. But they lagged behind. They didn't go forth. They remained behind. And Allah withheld rain from them. Allah withheld rain from them. And this was their torment. So we see that when a person has been given a skill by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he can use that skill to serve the deen. And alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, all praise to Allah, that He is the only one who has been given that skill. Because sometimes, some skills are very common. Everybody can do that work. But there are some people who have been gifted with certain gifts, with certain skills, with certain talents. Everybody doesn't have those talents. Everybody doesn't have those skills. If a person has that ability, and yet he does not come out in the way of Allah for his own personal reasons, then this brings about the anger of Allah, the punishment of Allah. When a person abandons the work of deen, then what happens? His life becomes difficult. His life becomes difficult. He does not find happiness and peace. He will only face problems after problems. What do we think generally? That because I've done so much work, I need a break. I need to take some time off. The Sahaba, they had worked for how long? This was the 9th year after Hijrah. And imagine those Muhajirun who had been with the Prophet ﷺ since Makkah. Over 20 years. How many of us have worked for 20 years for the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we can say we have done so much, we need a break now? We haven't. And imagine the Sahaba are being told that if you don't go forth now, Allah will replace you with another people because you are not indispensable. You are not indispensable. If Allah has given you something and you don't use it for the deen, Allah doesn't need you. So those who did not go forth at this point, who were hesitant at the beginning, they're being addressed over here that if you don't go out in the way of Allah and you think you've done too much, then remember that this will bring about the punishment of Allah. And sooner or later, Allah will replace you with another people. إِلَّا تَنْصُرُوهُ. If you do not aid him, aid who? The Prophet ﷺ. If you notice these ayat, they begin with إِلَّا تَنْفِرُوا إِلَّا تَنْصُرُوا. What does it show? The anger of Allah, the disapproval of Allah. That this is not acceptable of a true believer. That when the deen needs you, when you are needed to serve the deen, you stay at home. If you don't go and help him, if you don't go and support the Prophet ﷺ, accompany him in this journey, and after the Prophet ﷺ, his mission, if we don't help and support the mission of the Prophet ﷺ, then don't think that the deen of Allah will fail. Allah does not need you to support His deen. Allah does not need you. And if you don't go, this would be extreme ingratitude on your part. إِلَّا تَنْصُرُوهُ. If you don't help him, فَقَدْ نَصَرَهُ اللَّهُ. Then Allah already helped him. Allah already helped him before. And if He can help him before, He can also help him in this situation. Because Allah is his nasir. Allah is his mu'ayyid. Allah is his hafiz. He is his protector and helper and guardian. Allah helped him before. At what point? إِذْ أَخْرَجَهُ. When He expelled him. Who expelled him? The people of Mecca, الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا, the disbelievers of Mecca. They expelled the Prophet ﷺ from where? From where? From Mecca. Basically, indication over here is to the journey of Hijrah. When the Prophet ﷺ migrated from Mecca to Medina. Notice the word akhraja has been used. And akhraja is to expel someone. The Meccans, how did they expel the Prophet ﷺ from Mecca? They had decided, they had planned to kill him. Remember, in Darun Nadwa, all of them got together. And Iblis also came and discussed with them. And Abu Jahl suggested the plan that how all of them together were going to kill the Prophet ﷺ. So, they expelled him, that they did not leave any choice for him but that he should leave Makkah if he wanted to be safe. إِذْ أَخْرَجَهُ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا. They expelled him. ثَانِيَ اثْنَيْنِ. And he was only second of two. He had only one companion with him. Just imagine. The Prophet ﷺ, he only had one companion with him, Abu Bakr. And Allah saved him at that point. Allah helped him at that point. And today, if there are so many of you, not two, not one, but thousands and hundreds, and if you don't support the Prophet ﷺ, if you don't support his cause, you think Allah needs you? Allah doesn't need you at all. Allah is enough to protect his servant. The Prophet ﷺ was Thani Athnain. Thani means second. Second. And Ithnain, two. So who were the two? Idhuma fil ghar, when they were in the cave. Who were the two? The Prophet ﷺ and Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu. And the Prophet ﷺ was the second of the two. So who was the other one? Abu Bakr. Now, this expression, Thani Athnain, he was the second of the two, this expresses the qillah of their number. That how few they were. Only two people. He had only one companion, but Allah helped him. Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu was the Prophet ﷺ's childhood friend. And he was also the first one to accept Islam. The first man to become a Muslim. And when the people doubted the Prophet ﷺ concerning the journey of Mi'raj, Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu is the one who affirmed him. Which is when he was given the title of As-Siddiq. That he didn't just believe in him, but he confirmed everything that the Prophet ﷺ said. And he also fully supported him. And he is also the one who accompanied the Prophet ﷺ in the journey of Hijrah from Mecca to Medina. Aisha radiallahu anha, she narrates that Rasulullah ﷺ, he used to visit them, where? In the house of Abu Bakr, in the mornings and in the evenings. So in the morning and in the evening, the Prophet ﷺ would come and visit them. But one day he came at noontime. When? At noontime, with his face covered. And this signified that something different was happening. So Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, he opened the door, and Rasulullah ﷺ announced to him that Allah had given him permission to do hijrah to Medina. So Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu said to him, together? Ya Rasulullah, together? Meaning, I can also come with you, I'm also going to come with you. And the Prophet ﷺ said, together. And Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, he began to cry. That he was given this opportunity to go with the Prophet ﷺ for the journey of Hijrah. And Aisha radiallahu anha, she commented that I never believed that someone could cry out of happiness until I saw Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu cry that day. That somebody could actually cry because of happiness. So, there were only two people. The Prophet ﷺ left Makkah in the night with Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, and instead of heading towards Medina, they headed in the opposite direction. Isn't it so? They headed in the opposite direction. And they went and stayed in the cave of... Which cave? Thawr. In the cave of Thawr. That's where they stayed for several nights. While the mushrikeen, they were going through the desert looking for the Prophet ﷺ and Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu. And at one point, they even came by that cave. Idhuma fil ghar, when the two were in the cave, and the mushrikeen, they came by that cave, and if they looked down, they would have been able to see the Prophet ﷺ. The word ghar is from the root letters ghain, waw, ra. And ghawr literally is used for depressed ground, depth. Ghar al-ma is when water sinks inside the ground, inside the earth, when it does not remain in the surface. Just imagine a well, you have water in it, but the water, it goes very deep, and it's extremely difficult to extract it. So basically, ghawr gives a sense of depth. When something goes in the depth. And ghar, from the same root, is used for a cave. Is there any other word which is used for cave as well? Al-Kahf. Surah Al-Kahf. What does Kahf mean? Cave. Ghar is used for a very small cave. It's a very small and tight cave. It's almost like a hole in the mountain. The opening, a rift. And Kahf, on the other hand, is a huge, a big, spacious cave. You know, sometimes there are some caves which are very small. And there are other caves, when you go in, you can keep going in. They're huge. And sometimes there is even lakes. And Allahu A'lam, what all inside caves. So huge, spacious caves are kahf, and small, tight, narrow are ghar. And this cave was so narrow, it was so tight, that a person would have to twist and bend and crawl in order to get inside. And it was in the year 1299 that the opening of the cave was widened so that people could go into it easily and see into it. The pictures that you see today, the cave is very wide and open, isn't it? The opening is very huge. However, before it was narrow and it was opened up later in the year 1299. So, إِذْ هُمَا فِي الْغَارِ, when the two were in the cave, alone, only two of them, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala helped them, that إِذْ يَقُولُ, when he said, who said? The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, to who? لِصَاحِبِهِ, to his companion. Who was his companion? Abu Bakr radhiyallahu anhu. What did he say to his companion? لا تحزن, don't be sad, don't grieve, because إِنَّ اللَّهَ مَعَنَا, indeed Allah is with us. Just imagine, there were only two. And the mushrikeen were right outside the cave. If they looked down, they would have been able to see the Prophet ﷺ. If he was sighted, they would have killed him right there and then. Because the mushrikeen had said that he should be brought alive or dead. And whoever finds him, there was a huge prize for him. So any mushrik was willing to kill the Prophet ﷺ at this point. So who helped him at this point? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Abu Bakr radhiyallahu anhu, he said, that I said to the Prophet ﷺ when we were in the cave, that if any of them looks down at his feet, if any of them looks down at his feet while he's standing, he will see us. And Abu Bakr radhiyallahu anhu, he was crying at this moment. Not for himself, but for who? The Prophet ﷺ. The Prophet ﷺ said, O Abu Bakr, what do you think about the two with Allah as their third? What do you think about those two people? Whose third is who? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Meaning Allah is with them. لا تحزن إن الله معنا. Don't be sad. Don't worry. Allah is with us. Tahzan is from the root letters Ha-Zai-Nun. And huzn is such grief or such sadness that a person experiences because of some difficulty. That a person experiences because of some difficulty. So لا تحزن. Have courage. Be strong. Tawakkal ala Allah. Because inna Allah ma'ana. فَأَنزَلَ اللَّهُ سَكِينَتَهُ. Then Allah sent down His tranquility alayhi, upon him. Upon who? Abu Bakr radhiyallahu anhu. According to some, Allah sent down His tranquility upon him. Him refers to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And others say that no, it's Abu Bakr radhiyallahu anhu. Why? Because the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was already relaxed. Wasn't he? He was already in sakina. And Ibn Abbas radhiyallahu anhu said the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam always had sakina. Always. So Allah sent down His sakina upon him, وَأَيَّدَهُ, and He helped him. Allah helps the Prophet ﷺ. How? بِجُنُودٍ, with troops, لَمْ تَرَوْهَا, you could not see it. Junud is a plural of jund. And jund is used for an army. Troops. So Allah supported and helped him with troops that you could not see. These troops are who? Angels. So when men were not there to defend the Prophet ﷺ, Allah aided him with forces that are not seen by people. We think we are needed. We think Allah needs us. We think the deen of Allah needs us. Allah doesn't need us at all. To protect His messenger, to support His deen, He doesn't need us. Because the messenger was helped when he had only one helper. The messenger was held with forces that are invisible to us. وَجَعَلَ كَلِمَةَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا السُّفْلَى. And Allah made the kalima, the word of those people who disbelieved, He made their word as-sufla, lowest. Kalima means statement, word. And over here, this is figurative for the goal, the aim of the disbelievers. What is their goal? What is their aim? Their da'wah of kufr and shirk, or their plot, their plan to kill the Prophet ﷺ. The plan that they had made in Darun Nadwa. This whole plan, this whole plot that they had made to kill the Prophet ﷺ. Similarly, their da'wah of shirk. All of this was made as-sufla. As-sufla is the feminine of asfal. Just as husna is the feminine of ahsan, and kubra is the feminine of akbar. And sughra is the feminine of asghar. Similarly, sufla is the feminine of asfal. What's the sign that this word is feminine? Alif maqsoora at the end. So sufla, it's from the root letter sin fala, and asfal is that which is lowest, that which is very less and low compared to the other. And it also gives the meaning of maghloob, that which is defeated, that which is overcome, that which is defeated and overcome. So he made the kalima of disbelievers sufla, lowest, that their plan was defeated. All of their plans, they were frustrated. They weren't able to harm the Prophet ﷺ. وَكَلِمَةُ اللَّهِ, and the kalima of Allah, هِيَ الْعُلْيَا, He made it the highest. Ulya is a feminine of a'la. So He made the kalima of Allah ulya, highest. We see that the mushrikeen, they had been struggling against the Prophet ﷺ for so many years, right? To raise their banner high. What was their banner? What was their kalima? Of shirk. However, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala defeated them. And what did He make victorious? Whose banner was lifted up high? The kalima of Allah, the kalima of Tawheed, the kalima shahada. Eventually, who was victorious? The kalima of Allah. Tawheed was victorious. Makkah was conquered. Ta'if was conquered. Shirk was eliminated. So, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us over here that you think Allah needs your help? You think the deen of Allah needs you? You're not needed. You're not indispensable. So, reflect upon history and see how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala aided His messenger. Wallahu azizun hakim, and Allah is mighty and He's also wise. Over here in this ayah, the example of Abu Bakr radhiyallahu anhu has been given. Whose example has been given to us? Of Abu Bakr radhiyallahu anhu. So that all of us can take a lesson from him. When did he help the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? In what situation? He accompanied the Prophet ﷺ when there was no one else. When there was no one else, nobody else. It was only the two of them on their journey from Mecca to Medina. Generally, when do we like to support the deen, to work for the deen? When everybody's doing it. And if we're the only ones, we say, we feel too lonely. Honestly, people think like that. That since I've started working for the deen, I feel as if so much of my time goes in just working. And I miss being with people. I miss having, fun and going out and all of that stuff that I used to do before. Because when a person is working for the deen, it requires a lot of seriousness on his part. You have to spend hours. Isn't it so? Learning your lesson, preparing your class. You have to spend a lot of time. And because of that reason, your social life does get affected. Doesn't mean you become completely cut off from the society, but it does get limited. Why? Because most of your time is going for the deen. And you need that time, especially if you want to balance between your family life as well as your work. Then you don't have extra free time to waste. But generally what happens? People think that it's becoming too difficult. They like talking. They like going out. And if they have to work all the time, and they have to do only their work and family stuff, then it becomes very difficult for them. They don't like that lifestyle. Abu Bakr radhiyallahu anhu was alone. We want people and fun everywhere. Similarly, we see that Abu Bakr radhiyallahu anhu, he helped the Prophet ﷺ when the circumstances were extremely difficult and extremely risky. Extremely difficult. Because it was a journey from Mecca to Medina. And on top of that, it was extremely risky because the mushrikeen, they were going all through the desert to look for the Prophet ﷺ. And if they found him and they killed him, you think they would spare Abu Bakr radhiyallahu anhu? Obviously they wouldn't. It was extremely risky. His life could be in danger. But still, he accompanied the Prophet ﷺ. Still, he helped the Prophet ﷺ. We only want to serve the deen as long as it is convenient for us. If there is any danger, if there is any risk, what do? We stay away from it. And I'm not talking about danger in the sense that the enemy is coming against you. I'm talking about some risk that could come from your own body, for instance. Like, for example, you getting a headache. You getting physically tired. It happens when people are working all the time. Their body gets affected. They feel physically weak. We think, I can do everything, but I cannot stay hungry. I can do the work, but I will not cut down on my personal life, on my personal work and efforts, and etc. But Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, he helped the Prophet ﷺ when it was extremely risky. And when he was worried, he was not worried for himself. He was worried for who? For the Prophet ﷺ. And because he helped the Prophet ﷺ at this point, in this situation, his reward was also much greater. His reward was much greater. How do we know about that? Aisha radiallahu anha, once she asked the Prophet ﷺ, basically it was a very starry night. The night sky was covered with stars. Covered. And she asked him that, is there anyone whose good deeds are equal to the amount of stars? The Prophet ﷺ said, yes. And he said, Umar radiallahu anhu. So Aisha radiallahu anha was like, okay, then what about my father? And the Prophet ﷺ said that one night he was with me. That journey that he took with me of hijrah. For that night he has this much reward. This much reward, equal to the reward of Umar radiallahu anhu's whole life. This is about what? This is about availing the opportunities that Allah sends our way. Not looking at your convenience, but looking at what is needed. How can I help? How can I have a share? And if a person takes advantage of these opportunities, then just imagine the reward. Just look at the reward. Equal to the reward of a person's entire life. And we're not talking about an ordinary person. We're talking about Umar radiallahu anhu. Umar radiallahu anhu, who used to weep so much, who used to pray so much, who used to recite the Quran so much, who used to fast so much, who used to give so much charity. Just imagine his whole life on one side, and that one night, one journey of hijrah on the other side. Just imagine. It's about availing the right opportunities. When these opportunities come our way, we think about our convenience. We think it's too difficult. I'm already doing something else. I don't need to do this anymore. Basically, the relevance of mentioning this is that don't think that you are needed to serve the deen. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can defend His deen, can spread His message even without your help. There was only one person with the Prophet ﷺ, but Allah made them victorious. Allah made them successful. So don't think you're indispensable and don't think you are needed. If you're doing something for the deen, you're only benefiting yourself.